No light-skinned people.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Shea Marriott of Rebirth Podcast. Tonight, we have an amazing topic for you. We're talking about redefining relationships, recognizing and releasing toxic bonds. Joining me is my co-host.
Corey Wilkerson.
What up, Corey?
What's happening?
Tune in tonight. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. This episode could explore the signs of toxic relationships, the impact that they have on mental and emotional health, and strategies for setting boundaries and moving on.
It's your time to renew, rebuild, and restore. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy Monday. It's your girl, Shea Marriott.
Happy Monday. What's going on? Another one in the books. We in the July now.
We are. You gonna introduce yourself?
No. I'm the artist formerly known as Corey. Oh, Prince. So I got my Prince shirt on, Christopher Tracy, if y'all know this movie.
That's a dope. That's a dope shirt.
Yeah, y'all might not be able to see it because my mic, but it's Prince at the end.
Okay.
I'm Corey Wilkerson, and welcome back.
Yes,
back again, another back. Monday.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
What Marsha Ambrose just say, all you gotta do is say yes.
All you gotta do, yeah. Shout out to Eli, man. I hope you're enjoying your time off with your family. He'll be back next Monday, but Corey is holding it down as he always do. So welcome to the Rebirth. I hope you guys had a great weekend. And it is July. And how was your 4th of July?
4th of July was good. 4th of July was good. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm. That's because we celebrate Juneteenth.
Oh, yeah, we celebrate Juneteenth.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't celebrate 4th of July.
I finally got my barbecue. Either way, I'm having a barbecue. So, Juneteenth, July 4th, as long as I have some barbecue food in me, I'm good. But I did. I got a chance to spend some time with some family. Mm-hmm. And it's cool out.
You do your thing on the grill?
I can. I don't.
Okay. All right.
I like to receive. You know what I mean? So I just kind of sit back like my.
You like to receive, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, again, welcome to the Rebirth. We are so excited. You like to you don't like to serve. I mean, in regards to grilling food and stuff like that.
I had to bring
I was just repeating what you said. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to Rebirth Podcast. If you have not done so already, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, please.
Subscribe, okay?
Subscribe button.
It's so important that you guys subscribe because we are able to bring you good content. And also, we're able to bring in speakers to talk about topics that you want to know about. So make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe to our podcast. And we're also available wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you love us, then you will love to go press subscribe.
Yes.
It blows the podcast up.
Yes.
And make sure that we're out there with the rest of them. So
absolutely.
Love us more.
Absolutely. And if you love us, you will also run right now to rebirthu.com and get your ticket for the Rebirth Meetup.
Right. Just do what we're asking you. You don't want this to be a toxic relationship, right? Just do what we're asking you to do. Go get your ticket, hit subscribe.
Absolutely.
Just listen, please.
Yes, absolutely. So if you have not heard about the Rebirth Meetup, check out this video. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. You ready to get your house music on?
Ever since we got here.
That's right. But listen, it's important, right? It's important because we want people to come out and have a good time. As you can see, it's a grown and sexy event.
Wear your summer dresses.
Maxi dresses.
Whatever.
Yeah. What about the guys?
They're not wearing the summer dresses. Guys, come see the summer.
If y'all want to wear summer dresses, guys, feel free. Yeah. We are inclusive. You
Yes,
know,
we're
so
inclusive.
whatever you want to do, however you want to dress, bring it on.
We
We
need
will
more
welcome
guys to
you.
come too. Right?
Yes, we do.
Do something with yourself.
We do.
Go buy the ticket.
Do it.
Again, sometimes we're the toxic ones because we don't listen. Go buy your
Mm-hmm.
tickets. Buy your lady a ticket. Both of y'all should
Yes,
come.
yes. So some of the things that you will experience at the Rebirth Meetup is engaging conversations, networking opportunities with like-minded individuals, summer chill vibes, which is important, right? We're in July, so you know it's all about the nice weather and having that vibe. Also, we are going to be highlighting a Black-owned business called Brielle Michelle. She will be there with her amazing smelling candles that just make you feel happy, right? It's all about your mood. So we're going to be highlighting her. And then we also have a sponsor. We're going to shout out our sponsor. You remember our sponsor's name?
AR. Right?
What's the sponsor's name, Jen?
BKL.
BKL. Shout out to BKL.
I had the bay right.
BKL is going to be blessing everybody with a sample of her amazing body butters. So you definitely want to be in the place. This is just about inspiration and community building. So if you have not purchased your tickets, the tickets are only $20. Only $20. We only have a limited amount left. After those tickets are gone, we will not be selling anymore, and we're not opening anything at the door. Okay, so you have to have had registered for the event in order to come. So go to rebirthu.com. Guys, this is a great fellas night out, good ladies night out, a good date night out. Or if you're coming by yourself, come on, meet us there. I'll be there, Corey will be there, Eli be there, Boss Up Brand will be in the building, Michelle Washington will be in the building. We all are going to be there. We're going to have a great time. So I hope you guys join us.
Absolutely.
All right. So enough of that. So tonight we're going to be talking about what, Corey?
Listen. This is toxic relationships, and you had the formal title, right? But everybody, we talk about how do we get rid of toxic relationships? How do we either get rid of them, or how do we reinvent them? How do we start over? We all have them, right? Whether it's in romance or whether it's in family or in friendship, right?
Yeah.
So how do we maintain those things? Because they have a big impact not only on our day-to-day lives, but our mental health and how we kind of just travel through this thing called life. So
yeah, absolutely. So, as Corey said, we're going to be talking about redefining relationships and recognizing, because we have to recognize that the relationship is toxic in order for us to be able to do something about it. And I think a lot of us either are or have been in toxic relationships, and we've normalized it so much that we don't realize that it's toxic for us.
Yeah, you know how you be in the bath, and your skin start getting wrinkly. You know it's time to get out. You're like, what's happening? Get toxic.
Okay.
Right? See?
Yeah.
You just be in it for a while, feels good.
Yeah.
It start getting cold. You're like, why the hell is my fingers getting wrinkled?
Okay.
You need to get out.
I see the connection.
Yeah.
I see the connection.
Do that. It was a connection.
Yeah.
Flow with it.
That was good. All right.
Good.
So while Corey regroups, we're gonna go to this video.
So much harder to love a real one than it is to be in relationship with a fraud.
Say that again for the people in the back.
It is so much harder to be in relationship with a real one than it is to be with a fraud. It's just hard, because someone who holds you accountable to who you say you want to be, someone who recognizes your potential, but meet you where you are, someone who wants your vulnerability. Like, I want to know how you think. I want to know why you made the choices you made. It requires a level of intimacy that you never have to do when you're just trying to see if someone's cheating and checking phone messages. And like, you don't have to be vulnerable in those relationships. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. You got to be hard. But now here comes someone that says, I want to be your soft place. And you got to figure out, how do I tear these walls down? And you have to figure out, how do I give this language, and how do I let them know up underneath this strength that there is still a broken 13-year-old girl, a broken 15-year-old girl. And I got to let you see her, and to let you see how she sometimes gets upset and flares up. And it's petrifying to let someone that closely into your space.
Wow. Of course, that's the beautiful Sarah Jake Roberts. I love that podcast. That is a podcast that I actually follow.
Is it?
Dear future wifey, you know what? I can't with you. Um,
It's good.
let's give the definition of what a toxic relationship is before we move into our conversation, because again, I think you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. So if you don't know that you're in a toxic relationship, if you check off any of these boxes that I'm about to read to you, perhaps you are.
Might be infected.
So, a toxic relationship is a relationship characterized by behaviors from one or both partners that are emotionally and sometimes physically damaging to the other person. These behaviors can include manipulation, control, excessive criticism, hostility, dishonesty, lack of support, and disrespect. In a toxic relationship, one or both individuals may feel drained, unhappy, and undervalued, which can significantly impact their mental and emotional well-being. Have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Yes, I have. I think first and foremost with myself.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's where it starts, right? I think we get into these relationships, and again, it's not always romantic relationships. It can be in friendship. It can be even inside of being a parent, or it can be inside of just how you deal with family, right? And sometimes we have a refusal to disassociate the things that we were raised with, and the things that we have learned, and the things that we've been affected by in our experience. And sometimes we become toxic, right? And within ourselves, right? So then when we get to relationship and you get with somebody else that could potentially be toxic, that doesn't want to disassociate with their experience, now you have toxicity together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which doesn't allow you to show up. So yeah, so I have been in one. I've been the toxic one, right?
What? No, I'm only joking.
I said the same thing, right? I had this face on when I said that. but I think the thing is like first with myself, and then recognizing toxicity and normalizing it.
Yeah.
And not wanting to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want that's good, Corey, because to be honest with you, although I know that wasn't the first thing that came to my mind, right? So as you do, as always, the thinker, you bring this extra dynamic. Anyway, so I want people to understand that it is impossible to be in a healthy relationship with someone if you are in a toxic relationship with yourself. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So my question to you guys that has tuned in, send me some hearts if you have been in a toxic relationship with someone else or with yourself. Just send some hearts up. Okay. I just want us to have some transparency here, because again, this platform is about healing, and it's about renewing, rebuilding, and restoring a better version of ourselves, right? So so let's talk more about I guess the awareness of how did you know, like, what stood out for you that you were in a toxic relationship with yourself?
I think when you start hearing the same thing over and over again, right? I think that when people start removing themselves from you is another thing.
Okay.
And then I think also when you start seeing that same pattern of behavior in the people that are around you, like, if I recognize that in that person, I don't like that. Right? But how am I showing up?
Right.
How am I showing up? Or what is my role? So I think it really starts with like when you start to look inward, right? As opposed to like always pointing the finger at somebody else and like, they did this, they did that. So I'm like, well, why does this keep happening to me? You know what I'm saying? So like, what am I doing that's contributing to this? And it may not be all you, right? But you're doing something to contribute to why the relationship is going the way that it's going. And sometimes you're just contributing by being there. Right. I think that, especially as men, we recognize very early when something is for us or it's not. Right. But we have this condition to stay and stay and stay. And, you'll have the debate whether, men really love unconditionally versus women. Right.
Okay.
Because we don't need all of what people think that we need, whether it's the BBLs or the sexy laundry. We just want to be cared for, and we want to be respected, and we want to be acknowledged for the things that we do well, right? But when you're not getting that, or you don't have those things, why are you still staying? And a lot of those things come because you normalize those behaviors as you grew up. Starts as your childhood, right? Like, what did I see growing up? It's crazy. We had I have a group chat with my brothers and my cousins and some of my nephews. And today I said to them, I asked a question. I said, "Yo, I got a question." And they like responded. I'm like, "Here he go," right? And I said, so we call my father. Everybody just call him Daddy, right? So I say, "Yo, like, question. How do you view Daddy as a man, and in terms of how he treated mommy?" Right? How do y'all see it?
Yeah.
I said, because like I was having a conversation with my niece a couple months ago. Like, every time she comes to town, we go to breakfast or lunch, right? And she said something one time. She was like, "Yo, like we all like love Daddy, like, you know, we praise him and whatever. Like, we all have these stories about him, but like when you like really break it down and how he showed up to her, it was shitty, right? Like, but we don't look at it like that. Like, we just kind of departmentalize X, right? So like I asked the question because it's all men in the chat, right? And so like we all have stories about him and things like that. But like, how do you see yourself inside of him, right? And some of the times that we've tried to, how has his behavior or the things that we saw growing up shown up in our lives? And then we all started sharing one by one, right? And it started out with, you know, as a man, like he was a provider, super charismatic, fun, family guy, loved his mom, all of those type of things. But when it came to how he treated my mom, it was shitty.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about and being in her seat, how does she feel about it? Right. But you normalize that shit growing up. It's just normal. Like, it's not like it's like, you know, he's always working. You see him when you see him. And, you know, this person may know this person may know that. Or you may think that, but you just go on. And it's, you know, I came on the back end, right? But there's 8 of them growing up in the same house. So they also have each other and my mom. But like, when you start to see some of these things, so as we all were kind of sharing, it's like, yo, like, we didn't have that role model as to what a man in terms of marriage and relationship look like, right? We knew how to definitely take care of ourselves. We knew how to take care of family or provide and things like that. But when it comes to like relationship, we just ain't see it. Yeah. Right. And then, you know, once you start to unpack that, like I always like we would like, even whether it's Rebirth Live or some of the conversations or y'all talk about, you don't like when people just say like, you're so strong and those type of things. Right. And we also talk about how when we look for nurturement from our mothers or our sisters and things like that, you don't have the capacity to do it because you've been trying to raise these kids. Right. You've been trying to work or trying to do all of this. I don't have time to nurture not only one, but 8. Y'all bastards, right? Like, where am I going to get that from? So what that does, then in turn, you start to go find that love somewhere else, right? And then you start to go out in the world and you get influenced by your friends, and you start to get influenced by the girl that's outside, or it could be the older woman that you have no business messing with, right? Or the older guy that you have no business messing with, because that's where you recognize, that's where the connection comes, but it's also a broken connection. Right. So like, when you start to unpack all of those type of things and start to like resolve those issues within yourself, you have to have grace for yourself, but that's where it starts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Absolutely. And I've been lucky for the last however many years it's been to be surrounded by a bunch of therapists, right? I remember we was going to that party. I was in the car. I'm driving. I'm like, 1, 2. Inside of his 3. I'm like, I hang around more therapists than regular people.
We gonna keep you straight.
Keep me straight.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, therapists on speed dial.
For sure.
But you know, but to answer your question in the long ways I answered it, I think that you have to realize that you have a toxic relationship with yourself first, and then start to have grace. And what that also does is allow you to have grace for other people. Yeah. Right. Like, you start to humanize your family. You start to humanize your friends. Like, yo, like, they're going through X because of Y. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, for sure.
that's kind of
For
my thing
sure.
on it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to bring up in this conversation that toxic relationships is not just in your relationships that you have, you know, like your intimate
Yeah, for
partners.
sure.
You can have toxic friendships. You can have toxic relationships with your parents, you know, with family members, with your own child, you know. So I don't want it to this is just abroad. This is anybody. When we speak about any type of relationship that can be toxic,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the key thing that you said was how we normalize it. And I say this all the time: we can't change what we're not aware of, or what we refuse to acknowledge. So the first thing is really about awareness. You know, how do you become aware of, you know, that you're a toxic person? And I think if more than one person is telling you something, is saying that there's a problem, but you're constantly saying that you're not the problem, and you got more than one person saying the same thing, 9 times out of 10, it's you, bro.
Yeah.
You the problem.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that you may have to change, right? A toxic person will look at that and say it's not you, it's them, right? But someone that needs that insight and wants to change, and someone that is willing to take accountability for his or her actions, is going to say, okay, hold up. You know, my favorite question is, how do you experience me?
Yeah.
Right? How do you, that's the, that, I challenge you guys right now to ask that to at least 3 people in your circle. How do you experience me? And the key to this is, you are not allowed to say anything to them. You are not allowed to deny, dismiss anything that they have to say. Give them permission to give you the positives as well as the negatives. How do you experience me? Because the way that we think we're showing up in our relationships is not always the way that people are receiving it. Right? So if you really do care about your friends and family and the relationships that you have with them, give them permission to share with you how they experience you. I promise you, it's gonna be life changing.
Yeah, it is. And I'll say the small caveat to that. Recognize that people that you're asking those questions to are not necessarily always healed either. Right? So you have to take sometimes what people are saying, take what sticks, and some of the other stuff you have to kind of filter out, because sometimes we will sign ourselves up to just get whipped on all day, and like you internalize this stuff so much.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you can't ask everybody in one day, right? Sometimes you have to take it in doses, right?
Absolutely.
You have to prepare yourself for those conversations. And there's certain things, just because you have a problem with it doesn't mean that I need to change it. We just got a problem, right? Or, you know, that this is kind of who I am, or this is so on and so forth. But I love the question, because I think that when you care about those relationships, you have to be willing to change, and you have to be willing to change somebody's perspective, because it could be you.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And also be willing to give that feedback. It's such a gift for people to have those conversations before it's too late. Right.
Definitely, for
Before it's too
sure.
late, before the divorce happens, before you don't wrote somebody off, before somebody's on their sick bed, before, you know, like some of those times we have to be able to assess who is important in our life,
Yeah.
and who are we willing to change for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So listen, guys, we're talking about toxic relationships, identifying them, and then also being able to release them. So if this is resonating for you, or if you know a toxic person that needs to hear this conversation, please tag them in the post.
Like, yeah, I've been waiting to say
tag,
this.
tag them in the post, right? It's important that we get the word out there. Tag them in a conversation, and perhaps they can join in. But for sure, make sure you like, share, and comment on this topic. You know, have you been in a toxic relationship? Um, are you a toxic person? Is the relationship that you're in that's toxic, is it with yourself or is it with someone else? And are you willing to change that?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
we talked about some of the signs of toxic behavior, and manipulation was one, right? So let's expand a little bit more on
Yeah.
manipulation. What does manipulation, or what has been your experience in manipulation, or what have you done to manipulate?
Nothing. Man. I don't be out here manipulating. But you know what though? Like I think I've done both, right? So like,
Mhm.
and manipulation doesn't always mean like you just woke up one day and you had the Grinch face on and you was like malicious. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes the manipulation comes in your everyday behavior,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes you manipulate a situation knowing it's not good for you, but you continue. Sometimes when you move your boundaries over here and you move your boundaries over here,
Mhm.
you condition the person to feel like everything that they're doing is okay and it's not. Right. And then, they look up 3 months later, it's like, yo, you ain't had a problem with it this whole time.
Right, right,
Right.
right,
So
right.
yeah, but it's
Oh,
all good.
now you saying
Now
something?
you saying something, right? Or sometimes you can be manipulated with gifts, right? Or trips. You can be
Ooh.
manipulated with silence, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
silence is a manipulator because they know
Mhm.
that if I'm quiet and I isolate you, you always gonna come to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right?
And guilt and fear is
Yeah,
also
for
manipulation.
sure.
Somebody would get guilt the hell out of you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And those things are hard, right? Because
Mhm.
I think that they're learned. Sometimes manipulation is a learned thing.
Yeah.
You get results out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like if I do this, I know this is gonna happen.
Right.
Right. And it doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
And it doesn't feel good. So I mean that those things have happened to me. And I think for like we talk about like how have I manipulated?
Did I say that? Did I ask you that?
You asked the question.
Oh, did I? You ain't gotta answer that for me. So it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but you know what? Though? Nah, I'll answer. I think sometimes in my manipulation is like knowing that I'm doing wrong and continuing to do wrong.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Not being honest. Um, and sometimes you just we come from New York, so we got the gift of gab. I gotta say this to say that.
Noted.
Yeah, right. Like playing on your strengths and your weaknesses and all of those
Ooh.
type of things. Um, but I will personally say for me, like I've consciously, I don't think that I've been manipulative in a bad way to like
Mhm. There's
robber
good
thievery of
manipulation.
your brain. I mean, they call that influence.
Pause. There's good manipulation.
They call that influence, right? Influence, manipulation, depending on how you
Okay.
move with it, right?
Okay. All
Um,
right.
so
I
like
got you.
but again, I think that I definitely have run the gambit on shitty behavior. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. So like I think for me, I've always felt like I didn't want to show up as this person.
Yeah.
Um, but through time, experiences, things will happen to you, and you're like, you know what?
Mhm.
You doing that? I'm gonna do this,
Right. Right.
right? And you're playing games with each other,
Mhm.
right? And again, like you said, it's not just about romantic relationship. It could be in inside of family relationships as well. You know you did wrong,
Mhm.
and you're just gonna leave it like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, or this person has a soft spot for X, or you just gonna leave it like that.
Yeah.
It for what we just playing games with each other.
Right.
So, um, I've tried to practice in recent years coming out of that. And sometimes it starts with you leading those conversations. So like today, like I was telling you, the conversation I
Mhm.
had with my the men in my family in our group chat today. That's part of it, right?
That's so important. I wish you could just have that conversation live at the rebirth, like at a rebirth live.
Yeah, we might.
You know what I'm saying?
We
Like,
might.
this is the real transparency that we people need to see, is men having conversations and like really processing, certain behaviors, not just men, but just, people, period.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know?
But
Um,
like Sarah Jake was saying, like
mhm.
that's the real part of the relationship.
That's the real.
We've all run through relationships where we've
Yeah.
been cheated on, lied to, we
Yeah.
checking phones, social media, why you ain't posting me, all that other
Oh
bullshit.
man,
And
that's a whole nother, that's
but,
a
but
whole
here's the thing,
nother
let me not do that.
conversation.
It matters to people, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna dismiss it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to me today, those are almost like table stakes.
Mhm.
Not to say you should accept it, but those things are table stakes.
Yeah.
When she talks about like in the video, it's hard to love a real one.
Mhm.
when you start unpacking somebody's trauma, like, how do you love a woman that has dealt with molestation?
Right.
Did she tell you that?
Right.
What's your reaction to that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how is it affecting you? You got to
Mm-hmm.
love past that.
Mm-hmm.
Or how do you love, for me, I didn't know my birth mom until 3 years ago.
Right.
Right? So that has shown up so many different times in my life throughout my relationships, not only in romantic relationships, but just in how I dealt with people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, many people are probably like casting me away, like, this be bugging, like, he's this and he's that, but there's something under that.
Yeah.
So now that you know that, or I share that with you, how do you love me in spite of?
Right.
Right? So like, we have to get to the bottom of what that really is for us as people, especially as Black people. Like, we go through a lot.
Oh yeah,
like this,
most definitely.
Our traumatic experiences, like we talked about last week, right? Like, the stuff that we go through as a community is crazy. I told you that small thing, right? Like, we get triggered quick.
Right.
Trump said black jobs. Facebook went crazy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. But this how we respond to that. What do you mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And how do we? Shaq had that saying, not saying, but he had a show he was on a couple months ago, and they talk. You remember that?
Yeah.
And they talked about, like, can you be honest? I think the question was, like, can you be vulnerable with a woman?
And he said never.
He said absolutely
ever.
not.
Absolutely not.
Right? Because for the fear factor that she.
I would never be vulnerable with a woman.
Right.
Absolutely
for the fact
not.
That she may throw that in your face one day. But here's the thing: what's real about that?
Y'all know that was
That's
good.
his experience, though. That might have happened to Shaq. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, right?
So like, who's gonna debunk that?
Yeah. Why you gonna ignore my Shaq impression?
I heard you. The Shaq impression was cool, but I was on something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was on something.
I need you to acknowledge and validate.
I validated just
my
Shaq,
impersonation.
but I didn't want you to invalidate my man's feelings. You know what I'm saying?
My bad,
this is
my
the reason
bad.
why he can't come to you. You want to talk about my speech impediment? I know I talk like this and I can't speak it.
Shaq
But
is
here's the
just
thing.
monotone all day.
But check this out. This is funny. So he says that mad women disagree. Right? You already know that Shaq feel like he can't be vulnerable. You've seen what he's done to Shawnee. Well documented. But he's sliding your DM. You taking that trip.
Yep.
You're gonna do this. So you manipulating yourself.
Yeah. You know what it was. You know what you signing up
but
for.
Then you blame him later.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So you and vice versa. That happens with men too. You know what I'm saying? So think about all of these things that continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's just a learned experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So manipulation. So these are things that is kind of these manipulation, hostility, constant criticism. Those are some that we kind of can see. We don't always see the manipulation, but like constant criticism, calling you out your name, being verbally abusive, emotionally abusive. These are things that that's not right. That we know that's not right, right? We know that that's toxic, but and also a person being hostile, I should say, a person being hostile. But some of the things that we actually miss that is considered to be toxic is lack of support. Lack of support. Lack of support in any relationship is toxic, right? And a perfect example, if you find yourself always showing up for people, always showing up for your friends, and they don't show up for you, especially the things that are so important to you, and they know about it, right? And you're met with maybe like passive comments or oh, I know you were going to do good anyway, but they're really not acknowledging and validating your feelings. That's toxic. And sometimes we don't see that and we don't identify that as being toxic. And the other one that people miss too is people being dishonest in their relationships, right? So let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something right now. I wish I could pull this camera closer to me.
You can get closer.
I can't get closer, right? Listen, that is a pet peeve. That is one thing that if you know me, I do not like a liar. That is the worst thing you can do to me is lie to me, right? I can't.
And
So this is why I can't be vulnerable around you, Corey.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say the same thing.
Dishonesty, and that's my Shaq impression.
Yeah, I was gonna reverse it on you. It ain't work though. You feel good.
Dishonesty is toxic.
Mm.
You know, it really is, and I think people kind of miss that, as well as lack of support. You know, but it can create a very toxic environment.
That's super funny. You hear females say that all the time.
What?
Bring the camera closer to me. There's one thing I hate. It's a liar. You can do anything to me, but if you lie to me,
Don't ask me if I lied about anything.
what? You lied to your face, bro. What are you talking about? Like we looking at you like, all right, you hate a liar, but you a liar. You never lied to me though. That's not the point.
I never lied to you, Corey.
Listen, females will lie to your face, bro, with a smile. Be like,
We just manipulate the truth.
you see what I'm saying? Which is a lie, or they omit.
Yeah, we omit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we omit.
Yeah.
A couple of the other ones too. So you guys will know you have this information. Is control. Right? Control is very toxic. Very toxic. Disrespect, isolation, and blame shifting. Woo! Blame shifting you usually see with a person that's narcissist. And I'm not saying that everybody that has narcissistic tendencies has a narcissistic personality disorder, because that's not the truth. We all have narcissistic tendencies, right? If you're on social media, you have narcissistic tendencies. Surprise if you didn't know that. You know that now, right?
Y'all are narcissists.
Why? Yeah, you posting. If you posting your pictures, you posting your pictures, right? Social media. Everybody has narcissistic tendencies in some kind of way, especially if you're on social media. But you have people that are straight narcissists, right? Or again, and that's where you see a lot of the blame shifting. The conversation start out to be about you. You ain't come home till 3 o'clock in the morning. You ain't come home till 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, now the focus is off of me coming in 3 o'clock in the morning. Now it's on you. Why you clocking me? Why you trying to control my time? Why you trying to be a mom? You're not my mother. You're my girl. Whatever the case may be, right? And it's just like, now you sit there looking like, well, damn, did I do something wrong? And now here you go. I'm so sorry, boo. I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to get you upset, right? And now the shift, it works in people that have been in toxic relationships that have now normalized, right? And have experienced the emotion abuse, because that's where the blame shifting come into play. I got to beat you down. So when I got to beat you down with my words and emotionally. So when I say stuff like this, you're now going to take it and you're going to take that in and make it a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So again, that's the manipulation that happens. Yeah.
That's funny. But I think the other part of it is too, sometimes toxic is like one of those words too that's like I feel like sometimes it's overused, right? Like, we're in a toxic relationship. Sometimes our relationship is just unhealthy right now.
But isn't that toxic? Isn't unhealthy toxic?
Let me say this. So if it's unhealthy, I feel like if you're unhealthy, you can probably get healthy, right? I think sometimes when you relate things to toxic means it's final and you can't repair.
No, that's not what we're saying. Because if it's toxic, you can detox, right? It's something in your body, right? We have people that, I'm going through a detox.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing with your relationships. If you have toxic behavior, you can detox. You can change it around. It's not finite.
So as a therapist,
now go ahead.
You can dispel that, right? So like, I'm sure you have run the gamut of people that come and see you, and some of those relationships are super toxic. That's why they're in front of you, right? Have you seen? Of course you have, but what is the likelihood of people that come to therapy coming out of those toxic relationships and behaviors?
Yeah, so good question. Of course, I don't have the exact percentage of that, but what I will say to you is, just because you come to therapy doesn't mean you're ready to change. It doesn't mean that you're ready to do the work. Some people think that, because you started therapy, that you're ready to get in there and do the work, roll up your sleeves. But that's not always the case. So what happens is you learn and you discover some things, right, about yourself, things that you already knew, but now you're being faced with and challenged with in therapy. And now you have the decision, what I'm going to do with that information.
Yeah.
And you might take that information and say, well, hell, I've been living this long with what I'm doing, so I'm not ready to change. And people, it's more people that are not ready to change than people that are. Yeah, sure. To be honest with you, it's more people. So I would say if you have 10 people that come to therapy, and it's toxic relationships and issues that's going on, I would say out of those 10, maybe 3 will be willing to change. Yeah, sure. The other 7 are not. You know why? Put it in the chat, y'all. Put it in the chat what you think. Why they're not willing to change. And it's what you said earlier. Because they've normalized it. So it's part of their norm. Yeah. And guess what? Changing means I might have to now be faced with the unknown. And when I'm faced with the unknown, that's more fearful to me, not to me, but to a lot of people, than what the known is, right? So I know when I come home, I'm going to get my behind whooped, right? I know I'm going to get cussed out when I come home, right? I'm familiar with this. This is normal. Although it might not feel good, I'm familiar. And to a lot of people that are in toxic relationships, the familiar outweighs the unknown. So this is why a lot of people won't change. They may come to therapy, but when it's time to actually put the work in, they're really not ready.
I can only imagine how hard that is, and not giving a pass, but like at the end of the day, like to look at yourself and deal with yourself is super heavy, because it's all you know.
It's all you know.
And you've survived 100% of your worst days being you.
Yep.
Right? So like, how you going to tell me what your way works, and I've been doing this for so long and it works for me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here's the thing. Joe ain't left me. Michelle ain't left me. Like, we good. You know, we functioning. I'm going to work every day. I'm successful. I'm doing my thing. And people like me. But at the end of the day, you rotting inside. You know what I'm saying? So, those things matter. So I would implore people to try to look for those, look inward to themselves. You know what I mean? It's good work for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. So guys, we're gonna talk about when to decide to end a toxic relationship, and the steps that you should consider in doing this. But before we get into the steps, I want you guys to check out this video.
You realize one or two things. There's either nothing more that I can do or nothing more that I'm willing to do. And that's a very small window, because on the other side of that window is just stand because I'm here. Stand because I've been here. Stand because I'm scared to be somewhere else, right? At the moment, you know there's nothing else you can do, or that you ain't gonna do nothing else even if you could. You need to go ahead and start working on your exit plan. Yes. Now leaving may not be immediate. We have to be realistic. Everybody not in situations where they can up and bounce as easy as it said, but you need to start planning your exit, whatever that means for you. If your exit requires establishing safety elsewhere, if it requires you stacking your finances up, at the very moment, like that moment when you like, nah, I'm tapped. Because a lot of us realize that, and we try to push, we try to dig. Like, bruh, if you cannot show up in your relationship healthy and wholehearted, you need to leave. Even if it's you need to go. because it's gonna get to the point where you punishing the person across from you because you not even showing up in a healthy way. You showing up out of resentment. You showing up with a, you know what I'm saying? Like, so once you realize you in that space, like Kitty said, a stagnation, just go ahead and start working on your exit plan.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. So we're going to talk about some of the steps to consider when ending a toxic relationship. And Corey, you can chime in on comments as I talk about the different steps. Are you sucking your thumb? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. To look at my producer, I thought she was sucking her thumb. I'm like, hold up.
That's how she copes. One of the ways.
That's my girl. The first step that we have to do is acknowledge that the relationship is toxic, and we have to recognize the harm in the relationship, right? So it goes back to what we said. We can't change what we refuse to acknowledge.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to do that sometimes too, because what you really want, you want to see the good in everybody, right? Especially if you love that person and you care for that person, you want to see the good in them. You don't want to look at anybody that you're close to as toxic, because part of that is recognizing there's an issue, but also there's an issue with you for accepting that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So, or the potential says that I may have to walk away from this.
Yeah.
Right. So what does that look like? That's scary within itself. So
yeah.
I agree.
And I think too, if we're looking at for an example, like a parent-child relationship, sometimes we're afraid to acknowledge that our parent or our child may be toxic, because if acknowledging that, it may, you don't want people to think that you love them any less. You know what I'm saying? So if I acknowledge that my parent is toxic, then it feels like I'm talking bad about them, when in reality is, no, I'm saying that their behaviors is toxic, and in some ways it hurt me and it's unhealthy, but it doesn't mean I love them any less. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I would look at that as saying, like, I want them to get better. So being able to, understand that, because I've had people where they felt like they'll say, yeah, they're toxic, but at the end of the day, that's my husband and that's my wife and that's my mom, and I don't want you to think that I'm talking bad about them. I'm like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to say, yes, they're toxic, and don't say but. There is no but. They're toxic, period. Period. All right. So the next step is, y'all, I had to take notes tonight because it's just so much information. So just bear with me here. Okay. So the next one is sorry, y'all. Hold on. Okay. Acknowledge that they're toxic. And the second one is seek support, right? So it's important to be able to talk to a trusted friend, a family member, or a therapist. It's okay.
No.
Let's normalize that. Let's normalize going to therapy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, like we talked about last week, like we have to start figuring out what's the right way to introduce that into our lives, and knowing that it's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? And keep saying, like, this newer generation, right?
I love it.
They're just like, I don't want therapy. Like,
I love it.
My therapist is on speed dial.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because here's the thing: on the other side of those crazy people, or we call them crazy, those serial killers, those people that are shooting up this, the people that turn to drugs or alcoholism, or the people that are turning to abuse, or they're attaching their next steps to what they've seen growing up, which you don't want. You want somebody that you should have somebody that you can talk that out.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. So as they actually, on the video that we showed of tonight's conversation, the first thing he said is plan your exit, right? Plan your exit. So develop a clear plan for leaving. You don't have to stay in a toxic relationship. And again, I wish I could bring the camera forward to me. Listen, those of you that are out there in unhealthy marriages, abusive relationships, and you have children, stop telling yourself I'm staying for the kids, because that is bull crap. That is bull crap. If you're getting beat on, you're getting emotionally abused, whatever the case may be, understand this. And ladies, I'm gonna say this because it goes both ways. You have women that are out here abusing men as well. Okay. But the mental health, the emotional health of your child depends on the mental health and emotional health of the parent that is raising them.
Yeah.
If the mother is mentally and emotionally healthy, if she gets that divorce, your child is going to be fine. But we like to tell ourselves, or we like to justify that I'm staying in this because we have kids.
Yeah.
And guess what? Those kids turn into adults that come to see me, and now they're in therapy because they're wondering why their moms or their pops didn't leave the relationship years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So they're in therapy because you stayed. So take that. All jokes aside, take that information, right? And really think about that. Don't say that you're staying because of the kids. That's not a good reason to stay.
Absolutely. And you hear that a lot, right? Like, I stay because of the kids, or you know, it's all like ego based. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really about you not wanting to leave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And not ready. You may want to leave, but you're not ready.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, for sure. The next one is setting boundaries. We love boundaries.
Oh my God.
We love boundaries. Don't you love boundaries?
I do. I got to get better at setting them, but we were talking about the group chat we were talking about earlier. They didn't have this language back in the day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My mom was talking about setting boundaries. You know what I mean? They accepted so much. You know, the dad was the provider, or the mom was doing this. Like they almost had roles. And sometimes those roles were toxic as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't step out of this. You got to wait for dad to come home to discipline, or dad was the disciplinarian, I was the housewife. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah. Don't you dare go search for a job. I need you barefoot and pregnant.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Or like some of those things. So like the stuff that they accepted back then bleed into us.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're creating those same things. So I agree.
So those of you who are not sure what boundaries are, it's the ability to be able to communicate your decision and really enforce it. I mean, it's that simple. Communicate what it is, that line that you don't want to cross, and enforce it.
That's it. Yeah.
Enforce it. The next one is prioritize safety.
Did it? Prioritizing safety. What does that look like?
Yeah. So ensuring your physical and emotional, that you're safe physically and emotionally. That's important. What's the question?
No, tell me more. So you say physical safety is just
right. So people always get caught up on physical abuse, but emotional abuse is just as worse,
if not worse.
And sometimes we downplay. Oh, he just said, he didn't hit me. Well, he ain't choked me. He put it, or she didn't hit me, or she didn't choke me, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, but every day, 10, 15, 20 times a day, you're being called out your name.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Emotion, you're being told that you ain't nothing and you'll never be nothing. Right? And let's talk about how we speak to some of the parents that speak to their kids that way.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about, and this is not every household, but think about some of the mothers that are raising sons that was hurt from their fathers. Yeah. And you're looking at your son and you was like, you ain't get, because your daddy ain't and you ain't never gonna beat it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spell that.
Right?
Spell
yeah. And you ain't never gonna be that, right? And you're mad because your child looks so much like your father. I mean, so much like the father that you take all of that out on that child, on that son, right? And then on the flip side of that, it may also look like because daddy left, you're now the man of the house. This child 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And you're telling him he's the man of the house. And now he has all of these responsibilities on his shoulders. because he's now told he's a man of the house, right? And if we're looking at a community where the poverty is there, that child is out on the streets selling because they're the man of the house and they got to provide for the family. That's what it looks like.
You send them out today on vices like we talked about.
Absolutely.
Last week. I think Lisa was saying how we call them the corner boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those become your role models.
Yep.
Right? So imagine the advice you're going to get for them. Now, granted, it shifted, and this is going to sound like crazy, but like it went from them holding you accountable to say, yo, ain't you supposed to be in school? What you doing? You know what I mean? Make sure you don't do this, you don't do that. Now those same corner boys are your age.
Right.
Right? Or they don't have the same boundaries. They were raised without a father as well.
Right.
They were raised with their mother doing X, Y, and Z as well. So what advice they giving you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so it's like we're just going in this circle, and that's why it matters that we are really looking into ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I'm bugging. Remember somebody told me, a friend of mine said to me, like, I always post those clips of that I forget what her name is. She's a comedian, right? And she like the things that we went through as a kid, like like your mom used to like lay out your friend, like your friend would always be in your house, and just because they wasn't her kid, she would lay your friend out just like she was yours.
Right.
Like that was normal to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Absolutely.
her mom would curse you out, bro.
Yeah.
You know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? Or why you didn't clean up in the way you telling us to clean up or whatever. Like you, and she used to say like, she's like, you normalize. That's funny to you because that's normal to you.
Absolutely.
It's like, nah, it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's funny because that was our culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the way they talk to us. And granted, I'm not saying like it was horrible. Don't get me wrong, right? Because that's how we were raised. It taught us a certain level of respect, though.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It taught us a certain level of respect. So there's something, there's discipline inside of it. But like, I don't talk to my kids like that. I dare you. I would dare you to talk to my kids like that. You know what I'm saying? Even though like we're shaped by that being raised, but like I would never talk to my kids crazy. And I'm not saying that we haven't got into disagreements, but I don't make it a habit of cursing at my kids.
Absolutely not.
You know
and
what
I
I
don't agree. I for me personally, I don't agree. Like I have to be extremely angry. And I don't know. And even if that happens, it's not at them. You know what I'm saying? It's not at them. Now that's just something I don't do. I know people do. That's up to y'all, but that's something I don't do either.
Sure.
So, all right. So I know we're getting close on time. So I just want to throw out the last 3 and the last 4, which is seek professional help. We always, it's always important. If you cannot find someone to talk to, those support systems, seek professional help. It's
1-800 Shea Marriott.
Woo, yeah.
Keep you employed.
There's a waiting list.
That kid's going to school.
Yeah, right. Focusing on self-care. Okay. I just want to, self-care is another word that's thrown out there so much, right? Somebody just said, Lorianne, she's a choreographer. Did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't know how to take it.
Somebody asked her how does she practice self-care, and she had the nerve to come out her mouth and said masturbation. Okay.
I mean, it might be self-care.
Okay. What up? That's self-gratification. That's
care.
And care. Okay. All right.
She ain't out here bugging with no dude. She's taking care of herself. But she went OD. I didn't understand. Like she went, I was like, what is she talking?
She was like, did I just say that? Yeah, you just said it.
You know you said it.
You said it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Self-care is important. And ladies, I'm gonna say this to you because some of y'all know if I mention self-care to y'all, I'll be like, what do you use for self-care? The first thing y'all say, oh, I go get my nails done. That is not self-care. That's maintenance. Yeah. That's not self-care. That's like a guy saying he goes to get a haircut. That's not self-care. Yeah. You're maintaining everything, right? So self-care is engaging in activities that provide well-being. Period. That's what it is. Yeah. Engaging in activity that provides well-being. The last 2 is rebuild support network, right? So strengthen ties with people that are supportive. Know your community. Who's going to go to bat for you when you're up against the wall? Who's going to come out and fight for you, right? That support system is so important.
Yeah.
So important. I am so grateful to say I have a amazing support system, and two of them is in the room at this point. But I have an amazing support system. And then the last one is reflect and learn, which is basically understanding the experience, to avoid future toxic relationships. There is always a lesson to be learned in whatever it is that you go through. And it's so important that you learn that lesson, because if you don't, you are more likely to repeat it or let it come back into your space.
Agree.
So,
Agree.
what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with everything you said. I think the thing is that we have to make sure that we're just conscious of what's going on. Sometimes we go through the hamster wheel of relationships and life, and we don't sit back and think about, I have to be serious about these relationships that I have to be intentional. And it's not with everybody, but maybe it's the 5 people that matter to you.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to really drill down and see what's going on so you can be a better person, have a better relationship. Every relationship can improve.
Yeah.
And get better.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely. Every relationship can improve. We're not saying that you have to leave a toxic relationship, but what you first need to do is acknowledge it, identify what's toxic about it, and be willing to either make the changes if you are the toxic person, or being able to confront the person that you're in the toxic relationship with, if it's safe to.
Yeah.
If it's safe to. If it's not safe to, then you need to get out.
And I think the last piece that I would say, like, just because it's toxic or it's in distress doesn't mean you can't rebuild a relationship. A lot of us are throwing away long, important relationships because we don't want to do the work to fix it. But it does take 2 people to come together and fix it.
Yeah.
But you can do that. You just have to be serious about it and be intentional about it.
Absolutely. Do we have a toxic or healthy relationship?
It's toxic as hell. I felt like I had to say that, y'all. I need help.
Blink 2 times if you need help.
No, we got a healthy relationship. We good. We good. We good. But it's the 42-year-old Corey that you met.
Yeah.
The 30-year-old.
Hallelujah. Thank you, God.
He was wild. He was wild. Yeah, he was wild.
Thank you, God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. This was a great show. I really enjoyed talking about this. Awesome topic.
Yeah.
And as always, Corey, thank you so much for always saying yes.
Yeah.
And being here and holding us down for Rebirth. Guys, listen. Before we wrap up, I gotta give a shout out to DJ Tim Dog. He is having a summer jam fundraiser, and this is going to be July
13th, right?
13th. Okay, so actually, I'm sorry, y'all. I was reading the wrong flyer. He had the summer jam one was July 5th, but July 13th he is having a fundraiser for his daughter, and that's going to be at the riverfront. And the what you supposed to wear, that's what I wanted to say, is white with a splash of color. And guess what, girl? Guess who's gonna be in the building? Rebirth Podcast will be there live during the pre-show at DJ Tim Dog's fundraiser. And this is in honor of his daughter that passed away not too long ago. So shout out to him. Make sure you go out and support. This is going to be it used to be called Timothy's, but is it still called Timothy's? Okay, it's still called Timothy's. It's going to be at Timothy's at the riverfront in Wilmington, Delaware. And the time is 5:00. But Rebirth Podcast, our pre-show is going to be starting at 4 or 3. At 3. I'm sorry. My producer is in the back throwing up signs. Our pre-show is going to be starting at 3:00. So make sure y'all meet us there. That's July 13th. Meet us there. DJ Tim Dog, which is an amazing DJ, very well known here in Wilmington, Delaware. Go out and support this brother. He does a lot for the community at no cost. He does a lot of things in the community at no cost. So make sure you support him. And meet us there, man. We're going to be there. We're going to be live. We're going to be having a great time. And that's July 13th. And when you finish July 13th, I need you to come on through. I need you to come on through to July 20th at the Rebirth Meetup.
Yes.
We're excited about that. We're going to have a great time. This is our first Rebirth Meetup, and we have another one that's already planned for February that we're going to be announcing. And then we also have the Rebirth Live that is going to be coming up in October. So if you have not gotten your ticket, make sure you go to rebirthu.com and get your ticket. So tonight, before you start asking about my sweatshirt, my hoodie, shout out to Michelle Washington, Women of More. This is her brand. And you can get this hoodie at womenofmoreapparel.com. They are on sale now. It's a fly hoodie. Make sure you go out and support her, Michelle Washington, Women of More. And Corey, I expect my Prince t-shirt soon.
It's not Women of More. Gotcha. But yeah, Women of More.
Yes. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and please, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please go there right now. It's Rebirth U, the letter U, podcast, and subscribe. It's so important that you do this. It helps us bring content, information, speakers, people to come in and talk about the topics that you have been asking for. Any last minute words for you?
Subscribe, heal, rebuild, rejoice, renew.
Wow. Okay.
No, you said what I wanted to say.
Are you gonna so I'm gonna put you on the spot. You already know what I'm about to say, right? When can we expect your first episode of your podcast? This summer. Okay. And what is the name of your podcast, sir?
The Other Side of the Story.
The Other Side of the Story. This brother is amazing. His thought process is amazing. So, when he releases his first episode, we will definitely let you know, because I want you guys to go over there and support him.
Producer is
as
grunting.
well. Okay. The Other Side of the Podcast with Corey Wilkerson.
Other Side of the Story, Shay.
Oh, my bad.
She said that because I messed up her rejoice, rebuild, renew.
The Other Side of the Podcast. I mean,
look, this is why Shaq didn't feel comfortable. This is why. You know what I mean?
The Other Side of the Story.
Yes.
Podcast will be coming to you.
Relationship this with from healthy to toxic. That's great.
This summer, guys. So I want you to make sure that you support this brother, because he's always supporting us. And remember, as always, it's time to renew, rebuild, and restore. Blessings. We'll see you next week.
Later, y'all.